for following my tutorial class on part 2. Today I'm going to show you how to sew for zero knowledge people, because a lot of people can't even sew straight, or either, when they sew, we are supposed to have two fabrics together. Let me show you. This is right side and right side together, and that's how we sew. This is what I meant, got to align properly. Some people, they just do it like this, and then when they sew, this part is only getting very little stitches, alright? Or either, they sew it too big like this, in and out. So today I'm going to show you how to align the fabric together properly when you sew. You have got to align properly like this and not in or more than that. Got to be edges to the edges and right side to right side of the fabric. Okay, now before I begin, I'm going to show you, because I'm going to cut this fabric to 5 inches square. Today I'm just showing you how to sew only. Okay, now before you cut, I've just pressed the fabric very neat, and there's no crease, nothing at all, as you can see. So this is called salvage to salvage. Alright, and I just fold one fold, and then after that another fold again. Okay, I'm gonna slice it down to 5 inches square. Okay, first of all, you just align properly as what I showed you on my part 1. Okay, and just remove this bias ruler, and then we just cut. Okay, that's it. And I want it to be 5-inch square, so I just align it like this. As you can see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 inches, and I cut it off 5 inches, and this is what I get, 5 inches straight. 5 inches square, you can just align like this. Okay, 5 inches square. This is how you cut, but today I'm only cutting 2 squares. Okay, I didn't want to waste my fabric, and if you want to cut many, you just keep on cutting 5 inches square. This is how you get 5 inches square. Alright, now this one I'm going to cut 5 inches square as well. Salvage to salvage, one fold, and then another fold. Is easy to cut. Okay, just align it. Okay, that's it. Cutting 2 squares only from this blue color. You've got tip of the salvage. Okay, that's it. I'm going to show you how am I going to sew. When you sew, I always like to have, this is the length of the stitches. Now, this is the length of the stitches. I usually like to have 2.5. Okay, and make sure that we have a 1/4 inch. 1/4 inch, you could just measure. You put down your foot, take a ruler, and just 1/4 inch. This is exactly 1/4 inch. Alright, mine is exactly 1/4 inch. Okay, now you can just start sewing. Can you see that? Align properly. Make sure you don't in and out. And when you sew, now before I sew, I would like to recommend you, I always like to use either this awl or a tweezer, but I always prefer tweezer. Tweezer is just like, your second finger, that's what I meant. Okay, now you can just use this tweezer and hold it and make sure the fabric is really aligned properly. And when you sew, make sure the foot of this foot got to align together alongside of this edge, okay? And then you can just start sewing now. Start sewing, and you make sure each time this edge is along, when you sew is alongside this edge, and you can just clip this one with the tweezer, and there you start sewing. You don't have to go very fast, okay? Now this machine of mine has got no speed control, but my other machines has got one. Now, and you can, because usually when people doesn't know how to sew, they cannot do it properly, or either those can sew also, when come to the edge, they will just let their finger go, and then they will just kind of like sew, and the line will be crooked. Therefore, I like to use this tweezer just to hold it as a guide, okay? As a guide. And then I go on another one. Remember, right side and right side facing together. Align properly. Now, this is called chain piecing. Chain piecing, which means you don't have to really cut off the thread each time. You can just continue doing it. Remember, you just sew like this. Okay, once when you complete it, I would like to recommend you to use just a snip of fabric. Just any kind of fabric. This is what I call fabric leader. Alright, and you just go and sew to another fabric. The reason is that you don't have to keep on cutting the thread once when it's complete. Because once when you cut the thread, and this one, the thread you have got to pull it very long. If it's not long, normally the thread will just comes off from the needle, and you've got to retread again. It's just a time wasting, okay? Now I've completed these two. You can just do as many as you like, but I just show you only today just two. And I want to show you how to sew it nicely. I'm going to place it this way, alright? I want to show you how to batch and sew it beautifully. Now let's go to the iron board, and I'm going to show you how to press. This time it's not ironing, but it's pressing. Now, as what just I said, we are going to place it this way when I sew, alright? So another word, I'll do this way so they can see better, okay? Now, the seam one side got to go one side, the other one got to go the other side, opposite side. So we always press from back first, and then come to the front, we just press it to make sure it's really pressed neat and nice, as we cannot afford to press it like this. Maybe you can see, okay, like this, see. This is not really pressed properly, as you can see. If you press it like this, for example, and when you do it, the block tends to be smaller, as you can see, okay? And let's say you overlook, you don't see properly that you didn't press it nice, and then after when you join for many pieces already, and you start to realize this is not pressed properly, and you want to press it again, it cannot already, because there's kind of like the squares is in between. You cannot pull it nicely anymore. Alright, so you make sure you press it nicely. So this one is going to the left, and this one got to be going to the right. Let me show you again. We just press. It's called pressing. Press and lift it up. This is called ironing, but this time we are doing pressing. Pressing, just lift it up. We cannot iron, because once when you iron, you distort the squares. The squares will become distorted, and it's not so beautiful. Okay, that's it. Alright. Now let's get back to the. Now this is how I'm going to sew. I want to show you how we sew, and want to butt it nice and beautiful. As you can see, the seam, one seam is on the right, the other seam is on the left. And you just butt it nicely, the seam and the seam, you can just feel it actually, alright? And you just put a pin, just down here. As you can see, the pin comes out here, the same line, alright? And you just go in, okay? And when you sew, you just sew from the start to the end. And always make sure the two fabric is aligned together. This is very, very important. As you can see, my fabric leader is here, and I don't have to sort of like, pull the thread very, very long. Alright. Now when we come to this needle, and we always must check with this tweezer that make sure the fabric is aligned properly. When you come to here, don't try to sew over the needle because it might break your machine needle, or either you will bend this needle. And yet there's lots of people claim that, oh, this needle of mine can sew through. Definitely can sew through, but just try to avoid it. Don't take risks, okay? Now, keep on checking that, make sure the two fabric is aligned properly. And you just hold it with this. Just hold it. Alright, and that's it. And once when it's finished, you just cut this one, or either you can have two pieces of this fabric leader. Alright, there we go. We just check and see. Alright, voila. As you can see, it's very pretty, isn't it? Right now, as you can see, I've sewn it very beautiful. You see, it mixed together the seam. Now let's go back to the iron board and press it from the back first. That's what I meant. Press, okay, press, and then flip it back and we repress again. Just press it, and here, as you can see, just press it. Alright, and that's it. Voila, finished. As you can see, this is how I do it, how I sew the tissue, how to align properly, and that, how to sew the seams, how to press the seams and to the opposite sides, and how to sew. Now today, this is the lesson, a very short lesson as well, to show you how to do it. And my next lesson, I'm going to show you how to make a bias square. There's a few techniques of doing bias square. Bias square, which means triangle, join triangle to make it into a square. But I'm going to show you a few techniques of doing it, alright? And I hope you'll follow my class, my tutorial class. Thank you very much for watching. And I hope you will like and subscribe to my YouTube channel. And I hope to see you on my part 3. Thank you. Bye-bye.